All right, CNT120, we are looking at our first lab of the semester, our Chapter 1 lab on Introduction to Networking. You should already have your PDF file of the lab right here. Just in case you don't, if you go to the content page under Chapter 1, down at the very bottom, here's my Chapter 1. At the very bottom, there is a little folder here for labs. Right here is the PDF of that. You'll want to download that and have that for reference, or have the paper copy in front of you for reference. This first podcast, we're going to look at setting up our peer-to-peer network. Okay, so I'm going to hide this for now, and I'm literally just going to go through all the steps that are in the lab so you can follow along as I'm going. The first thing we do when we're setting up a peer-to-peer lab is we need to make sure all of our devices are cabled into the same network. So in our lab rooms, we're just moving the patch cables of our PC all into the same switch so that we have that physical layer 1 link, if you will, between all the computers. Next part of the lab, I'm going to have you look at the layer 2 link. In other words, the NIC of our machine, and make sure that it's functioning and able to get our peer-to-peer network working. So I'm going to have you open the device manager. So if I right click on my Windows icon down here, one of my options here is device manager. In my device manager, this shows me all of the hardware of my machine. And the piece I'm most concerned about is my network adapter right here. So as I look down through my list network adapters, I will open that and I see a couple options available to me. Yes, I see my Bluetooth adapters. I see some Intel adapters. Then I see some VMware adapters. Okay, most of you know what Bluetooth is. VMware is our virtual machine. We'll come back to that later because we'll be making a virtual machine later. We're going to focus in on the Intel NICs. In this case, we have a wireless NIC on board our PC, and we have a wired NIC on board our PC. We're going to focus on this one. This is the one we're using. So I'm going to open that guy. As I open that, I see the properties of this NIC. I see that it is functioning correctly, and I see there's other tabs if I were need to work on this NIC for any reason. The main one being the driver tab. I could open that and do updates to drivers, or if I had to update the driver file for this, I could do that. I would have the option here. I could say update, browse for that on my PC or CD or whatever it happened to be. I could fix that. But the main thing is we're verifying that layer 2 is working. So layer 1, we have our PCs all plugged in the same switch. Layer 2 now, we have all of our NICs functioning. The other thing I want to do, or the other way I want to verify this, is I'm going to look at my NIC another way to verify its functionality. So I'm going to say OK to this. I'm going to close this. I'm now going to open my Network and Sharing Center. So if I right click on the Windows icon again, I can open up the link here for network connections, and here are those NICs in graphical form, if you will. The one we happen to be using is Ethernet 3. This is the Intel Ethernet connection. I can see the same model number when I hold my mouse over it. I'll open that guy and see this shows me I don't have any internet connection because we're just in a switch. We're not connected out to the college, but it is connected. I do have a gig speed. It's passing and receiving data. So my NIC is functioning. Okay, that is my NIC and it's functioning. It's passing and receiving data. So my layer 1 and my layer 2 is working and functioning. The next part, or the next page of my lab, I'm now going to look at the layer 3 functionality of my NIC. So I'm just going to close this again. The next part I say we're going to verify our layer 3, so we're going to open up our network connections again. So right click Windows icon, network connections. We're getting a little practice doing this. I'll find my Ethernet NIC again. I'll open that, and now I'll click the properties of it. This is the properties of my NIC. In the lab, I tell you to pause for a second and take a look at the clients, protocols, and services installed. Once upon a time, I had to install these pieces by my onesies, or on my own, if you will. So right now, I see a client for Microsoft Networks installed. That would allow this machine to be part of a client-server Windows network. I see file and printer sharing for Microsoft Networks installed. This is going to allow me to do file sharing, or my peer-to-peer, if you will. And the next one I have down here is my TCP/IP version 4. That's the TCP/IP protocol version 4 installed and working for us. That's the one we're going to be dealing with. So I'm going to open that guy. and I'm going to, it's set right now for automatically, obtain IP address automatically. We're going to do static. We're going to do a manual entry in here, and we're going to plug in a 192.168.10 dot, and I tell you to look at the bottom of your PC. Each PC in the room has a number, PC number, so we're going to use that PC number in the last octet. That way every machine in the room has its own unique IP address. When I click in the subnet mask box, it fills it in for me with a default class C, 255.255.255.0. I can use that. I'm not going to plug in a default gateway. I'm not using a router or trying to get to the internet. I'm just doing a peer-to-peer in my room, so I can leave that blank at this point. I'm going to say OK. I do not want to close these windows out with the X. If I close them out with the X, it does not apply my setting change. So I'm going to say OK. I will say OK. And then I will say close. And that should have applied my IP setting change. But I'm a guy that likes to verify. So I'm going to open my command prompt. Down on the bottom bar, I have a shortcut to my command prompt. I'll open the command prompt, and I'm going to use the command ipconfig, and that shows me what the computer is using. So I'm going to scroll up to my Ethernet NIC. Here's my Ethernet adapter 3. There's my 192.168.10.25. My PC number is 25, so the last octet is 25. There's my IP address that I just set. So I know that my machine is set. I should say my layer 1 is working. I verified my layer 2, and I just set my layer 3, my IP address, and I'm verifying that. What I should be able to do is when my neighbor is done with this, done with the same step, I should be able to ping my neighbor. 192.168.10.5 is my neighbor. There we go. I'm communicating with my neighbor PC. I'm getting a reply from them. And that's basically, I sent a little data packet to them, and they responded to my data packet is all that is. That's a ping. So that tells me that there's communication between the two, and that is functioning. So now I'm going to work up to my upper layers, basically 4 and up, if you will. We're now going to enable the functionality of my machine to start moving files around, the file sharing part, if you will. So I'm going to close these for now. And I now need to open where I would change my domain or workgroup name. So again, I'm going to right-click on my Windows icon, go to System, and in here where it says Computer Name, Domains, and Workgroup Settings, I'm going to do Change Settings. This is the computer description. I'm down here looking at this part here. I'm going to do Change where it says Workgroup, Change Workgroup. I'm going to verify that my computer name is correct. That should be what is on the sticker on my computer, identical to it. And down here, I'm going to make sure that the workgroup is CNT. If I need to change either one of these, do that now. Make sure your PC matches what's on the sticker, and make sure the workgroup is now changed to CNT. If I make a change to either of those, I'll say OK, and I will need to wait and let the machine reboot. So if you have to make that change, do it, say OK, and then reboot the PC and come back around to this point. I've done mine already, so I wouldn't have to spend time rebooting and waiting for the reboot to occur. But that's where I make my workgroup change. And if I were going to make this into a client-server computer, I could say I'm going to enter a Windows domain. This is where the client-server action would occur, if you will. But we're just using peer-to-peer, so we'll use the workgroup setting of CNT. So I'll say OK. Or I'll close these out, if you will. And I'm now going to open my command prompt again. And I'm going to do an ipconfig/all. ipconfig all tells me or shows me all the network settings of my machine. The main things I'm looking at now, making sure my computer name is correct. I'll come down here a little bit to Ethernet 3, and I'll verify my IP address again. And you'll notice also that I see the MAC address of my NIC. There's the actual physical address or MAC address of my machine. So all those settings have been applied. Now I still need to turn on the functionality to share my files. So I'll close my command prompt. I need to open the Network and Sharing Center. So I'm going to click on the Windows icon. I'm going to do a left click. And I'm going to type in network and, if I can type, network and sharing. There we are. There's Network and Sharing Center. Now I have my Network and Sharing Center. I'm going to click on the, over here on the left, change advanced sharing settings. That's the piece I need. And I need to turn on network discovery and file and printer sharing. So this will allow me to find my neighbors, and this will allow me to share files with my neighbors. So I'll do a save changes on that guy. And that functionality should have been turned on for me. Now I need to have a folder or file out there to share. So I'm going to close this. So again, I have my patch cable, that's layer 1, I move that. I check my NIC, that's layer 2. I change the IP address, that's layer 3. I turned on this network sharing, that's kind of like layer 4 if you will. Now I'm going to create a folder out here to share. So I'll open my file explorer. In this case I'm going to go to the C drive and I'm going to create a new folder. So I'll right click and do new folder. In this case I'll do brown, oops, that's my caps lock there. I'll do brown 25 share. Indicating this is, me on computer 25 in the folder that I'm sharing. So there's my folder. Now I need to set the properties on this to share. So I'm going to right click on top, go down to properties, and I'm going to go to the sharing tab, and I'm going to do share. And I'm going to say, yes, I want this to be shared, so I will do share. And it's telling me if I want to access it, this is how I access it, and I will say done. So now the folder should be, if I right click on it again and go to properties, I'll see that it's being shared on the network. Yay! Okay. So I'm going to quick open this guy, and I'm also going to put a little text file in here. So I'll do a new, go down here to text file and do brown 25 text file or something like that. I'll open that up and put a little data in it. This is a text file on PC 25. Mr. Brown. Yay. So I'll save that. So now I actually have some kind of file in there to share. So I have patch cable layer 1, check NIC layer 2, IP address layer 3, turn file and printer sharing on layer 4. I put a folder in there that's kind of, layer 4 if you will. Made sure it's sharing. Now I'm going to try to find my neighbor machine's share. So on the next page here, I'm going to, I can do this one of a couple ways. I can go to my file explorer. Whoops, get out of here. I'll go to my file explorer. On the left, there should be an option over here for network. If I open that, this should start finding me any computers in my work group. Okay, this might take a couple seconds, but it should be able to find a computer in my work group. And I'm looking for, I set up computer 5 over here. So let me just verify he's awake and not asleep. Make sure computer 5 is up and awake. There he is. So it's going to try to go out and find anybody else in my work group. Hopefully 5 will show up. There he is. Awesome. Again, this might take a minute. I should be able to open 5, and there is brown 5 share that I set up earlier, and there's the text file. And I should be able to grab that and drag that right to my desktop, open that up, and hey, here's a text file from machine 5. And I should be able to also do the same thing if I have, I'm just going to throw that in the trash for now. If I have something on my machine, I'll go back here on my folder. I'll grab this file here. Here's Chap1Lab. I should be able to, oh, come on. I was going to drag this to the desktop. There we go. Never mind. We'll do this. We'll do the syllabus. That'll work. Now, if I go back to my network here, and I have this computer 5 again, if I open that up, I should be able to take a file from my machine and put it in computer 5. There it is. There's a copy of the syllabus over in computer 5. Now, if that's all working on my network browser, awesome. Well, I've encountered over the years network browsers that don't play nice. So up here in the top bar, I'm going to use a //, and I will plug in the IP address of that machine, my computer 5, my neighbor machine. If I do that, it's not resolving anything. It's using the straight connection to that IP address. It pulls right up that machine and it shares. So that's on the second part of that block. You'll see that's the shortcut to get there. All right, so there's my basic peer-to-peer. The only thing left to do is gather the proof of your lab, and I tell you in here, grab a Windows Microsoft Word document and grab a print screen of this share here. So I'd open up my Microsoft Word document, and over here on the left, I don't need the whole thing here, I just need a blank old document. That'll work. Over here on the left, I go to my network, and I see my here's my 25 machine, and I'm just going to grab a little screenshot of that, and I tell you Alt function print screen. So Alt function print screen, If I go into my Word document, I should be able to paste that right in. There is my share. I'll save that and I'll submit that to my Dropbox on D2L. That's it. There is your Windows peer-to-peer. I do ask you when you're done with that to go back and put the settings back. So follow the lab directions on how to do that.